Michigan. Key facts. Abbreviation MI. Nicknames: the Wolverine state, the Great Lakes state, the Automotive state, Winter Wonderland, the Mitten state. Capital: Lansing. Flower: apple blossom. Tree: white pine. Bird: American robin. Reptile: painted turtle. Motto: quaeris peninsula, amoenam, circumspice. If it's a pleasant peninsula you're after, then look around you. Google breakfast cereals, the motor car, Diana Ross, Madonna, Eminem. Michigan seems to have done a great deal to help create the 20th century. Its rather schizophrenic plentitude of nicknames hints at a state that cannot quite decide upon a stable identity. Cold in winter and blessed with an abundance of lakes, Winter Wonderland, the home of the big three car manufacturers, the Automotive state, and the soft nature, perhaps a place where you might, if you weren't busy, seek and find Wolverines. Also, nature has decreed that the main peninsula is in the shape of a Mitten, hence the final nickname. Like Chicago, which lies just over the water to the west of the state, Michigan is one of those places whose French presence in its history is betrayed by the soft CH sound in its name. It would have been spelled with an SH if the British got there first, as would Chicago, for they are both approximations of Native Americans' names that were never written down, to the Ojibwe Indian Michigami, meaning big water, was most naturally spelled Michigame, which in its turn became Michigan. The longest freshwater shoreline in the world, of which Michiganders, for so they style themselves, are justly proud, is often frozen. When I arrive at the hotel in Dearborn, a town some 8 miles west of Detroit, there is snow on the ground and a crisp snap in the air that tells me I had better dress up good and warm for the next day's open-topped motoring. Fort Greenfield. Dearborn is Michigan's most popular tourist destination. An upper-possessing city of some 100,000 souls, it has no shoreline amenities, for no fishing, hunting, or kayaking on offer, but only the fruit of one man's vision. And what a man! One of the most intensely unlikable figures of the 20th century, fanatical anti-Semite, enemy of labor unions, and proud recipient of medals from Nazi Germany, where Hitler held him in veneration. Henry Ford was also an employer who paid his workers more than his competitors, an innovator who pioneered the assembly line, and the visionary whose part in the creation of the 20th century was so great that Aldous Huxley, in his Brave New World, prefigured a society whose calendar was divided into BF and AF, before Ford and after Ford. Citizens in the book exclaim, "My Ford," instead of "my Lord," and Ford's and his flavor, and all's well with the world, and make the sign of the T instead of the sign of the cross, in honor of Henry's most famous creation, the Model T. Early in the cold, cold morning, I am all wrapped up and sitting in the passenger seat of the mint-condition Model T, whose engine starts first time and continues to tick sweetly all day like a sewing machine. Despite my passion for driving, I am relegated to the passenger seat, because it's deemed likely that in my wounded state, the broken arm is still mending, I will be able to control this ancient conveyance safely around the icy streets of Greenfield village. Its hand-operated throttle and idiosyncratic transmission being notoriously difficult for the modern driver to master. Reluctantly, I am brought to the belief that the decision is the right one. Here is a car where the right pedal operates the brake, The middle pedal engages the reverse gear, and the left pedal does something all-terrain involving high gear and neutral. A weird setup to us, but in the 1920s most American drivers had learned to drive on one of these. Known affectionately as the Flivver or the Tin Lizzie, the Model T was the most successful motor car of its time and perhaps remains to this day be the most successful production model ever. Cheap and reliable, Ford's brilliant breakthrough was to create a car that his own workers could afford. Indeed, it was only 4 months' salary to one of his workers. Contrary to widespread belief, for most of its 19-year run, it was perfectly possible to buy one in a range of colors aside from the famous black. This example, expertly driven by Kathy Kishon, is black, as it happens, and manages admirably the streets, which are as glass and cannot be walked on without slipping. Ford has worked early in his career as an engineer with Thomas Alva Edison and admired the great inventor all his life. Indeed, he is said to have captured the dying Edison's last breath in a glass vessel which can be inspected to this day in the Henry Ford Museum. It is certainly true that he transported the whole of Menlo Park, Edison's factory research facility, all the way from New Jersey to Greenfield, Devon. For Greenfield Village is Ford's mixture of a Disneyland recreation of a foxy middle American small town and a living museum of American achievement. It contains not just Menlo Park, but also the North Carolina bicycle shop, where Orville and Wilbur Wright first built a powered, heavier-than-air flying machine. Not a replica of the bicycle shop, the actual bicycle shop itself transported brick by brick, pane by pane. Thus, within one small area, one can commune with the birthplace of recorded sound, the light bulb, the airplane, and the motor car. There is more besides. There are small dry goods stores, Robert Frost's house, Rosa Parks' bus, the theater seat and limousine in which Lincoln and JFK were shot, models of airplane and motor car and home interiors from the ages. The museum, known as the Henry Ford, is fantastically popular and successful. It is hard not to note the melancholy contrast between it and its founding corporation. Where once 9 out of every 10 cars owned in America were Fords, the Ford Motor Company is now struggling desperately, posting a recent loss that ran into the billions. GM. Not so General Motors, the company that overtook Ford in the 30s and has been the largest motor car manufacturer in the world ever since. It is just managed into help of Toyota, but its brands Cadillac, Chevrolet, Buick and Pontiac, not to mention Saab, Opel and Vauxhall, consistently outsell those of Ford and of the other members of the Detroit Gang of Three, Chrysler. I go to GM's Design and Technical Center in Warren, a fab creation by rationalist architect A.R.S. Arnian, whose concrete arch in St. Louis, Missouri we have already met. I meet up with John Menugian, designer of the latest Cadillac, and am taken for a ride all around the campus. Inside, I'm allowed to take a glimpse under the sheet of the new concept eco car, the Volt, so long as our cameras are strictly turned off. The paranoia of automakers knows no bounds. One thing is certain as I drive around industrial Detroit, allowing our cameraman views of the Ford Rouge Works, once the largest industrial center in the world, and the other smoky landscapes. They have never seen a car like my cab in Motor Town. At every traffic light in this car-conscious town, I am stopped and quizzed about my black beauty. Some insultingly seem to believe that it is German. Others wonder if it is a new Detroit concept car that I'm street testing. Detroit can lay claim to being an urban vision of all America, characterized as it is by cars, crime, and popular music. But across the water lies an altogether more beguiling and appealing city, Chicago. But between Detroit and Chicago lies the northern part of the state of Indiana. First things first,